So this session is entitled "It's Easier Than You Think," and we're going to run for another half an hour. I'd just like to say welcome back to those people who were watching in the previous video. Thank you for that. And if this is your first time watching the online bootcamp, welcome. And if you watch this in a week's time from now, watch the recording. I hope that you find it valuable. And I guess the other thing that makes this competition unique is that you can start today to grow your business and start either generating revenue, acquiring users, or crowdfunding, or you can start in August and just work intensively at your startup. So what we're looking for is results. We're looking for people who are going to just really work hard and be creative and imaginative and just really have the summer of their life rather than stacking shelves in Tesco's or really having a boring internship. There's an opportunity to make a difference and just really grow your startup. So what I want to say today, we had a question at the end of last video. Somebody asked me the book I referenced. It was actually Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is out of copyright. So you could probably find a free PDF somewhere online, or you can buy yourself a nice hard copy or paperback on Amazon. We can actually post the link on our website if you're interested in doing that. So please, we are looking for your questions. If I talk about anything that you don't understand, my trusty assistant Dan is going to be fielding them and looking for your questions.
Speaking of which, we've got another one.
Oh, fantastic.
Somebody said, I'm looking to start my business, but I have no idea how is this good for me? The program, they mean. How is the program good for me? That's a translation of what I think the question means, because it's not fully clear.
Well, I hope that what we're offering is quite different. So we're about to talk about something today that not many other people talk about, that I think will enable you to increase your chances of success. It's rather than just give it away right now, but that's what I would like to think. We have been taking the latest thinking coming out of Silicon Valley and applying the Scottish dimension, or this is my 6th startup that I've been running, and I've made lots of mistakes. And Dan, in some of his last comments in the last one, he said that he wants to learn from my mistakes. He does, and I think it is incredibly inefficient and wasteful if we all have to make our own mistakes. If we have to learn the hard way. And I teach people to not have a high tolerance of pain. If you have a high tolerance of pain, you will make more mistakes than someone who doesn't. If someone has a low tolerance of pain, then they're more likely to look at other people's situation and see the mistakes they made and say, okay, I'm not going to do that. So I'm a believer in having a low tolerance of pain. That wasn't perhaps what you expected to hear from today, but I hope that answered that question.
But so it's all the techniques which have come from the last sort of 50 years of businesses, but then applied more nichely to, well, not just to Scotland, but from the beginning. So it's an interactive process whereby you can ask questions on those techniques, and we can answer them, and then also apply them to, if you're in Scotland, such as there's lots of elements that Scotland apply just for their own entrepreneurship, or Britain for that matter, such as the enterprise investment scheme and stuff like that. So it's about applying the knowledge that's already out there to British business, to Scottish businesses, student businesses, really.
Yeah, and I was just saying in the previous video that our cumulative experience as entrepreneurship is probably about 80 years. People have failed at running a business before. And I've certainly wasted 6 months of my life following stupid advice. And our co-founder is Mike Clauser. He used to be a former VC, venture capitalist in America, so he's got lots of experience. And Ian Buck, he used to evaluate startups for investors in America too. So with my 6 startups behind me, with Mike's experience on the investment side, Ian being in the middle between investors and startup founders, we have a good breadth of knowledge. And so hopefully if you ask us a question, we'll be able to give you a good answer. So hopefully that's answered this question. So what we're going to be talking about today is how to make progress and for the whole process of building your startup far easier than it needs to be. Now, we are going to tell you a few stories of disastrous mistakes that people have made in the past. Some of them will be personal, probably. I'll probably tell you a few of my own stories because we want you to avoid doing that, to avoid wasting 6 months of your life, avoid wasting thousands of pounds, and essentially, just really giving up and not really thinking that you can be successful as an entrepreneur. Because if you put into practice what we're going to tell you today, you will increase your chances of success phenomenally. And the reason we exist, the reason the Startup Race exists, is to help you to be successful. So we are living and breathing this topic all the time so that you can benefit from our thinking, you can benefit from our learning, and you can benefit from our experience. And you can do the thing that you want to do. So you can build the startup you want to build, you can be successful more quickly, and you can make a difference in more people's lives, and you can make more money. So that is the agenda for today. It's far easier than you think it might be. Now, most startups fail because they build something nobody wants. And I have experienced this in almost every networking event I go to. I meet someone, an entrepreneur, who is building something in stealth mode, or they're just spending months and months and months because they just want to build this app, they just love this idea. They're all making the same mistake. They're not talking to their customers. They're not having a real conversation, and people are lying to them. Now, it may seem a strange thought, but when you talk to people about your startup idea, people want to be nice. If you ask your mom, "Hey, do you think my startup idea is gonna fly?" Your mom will probably say, maybe. She's not going to say no. That's a stupid idea. Well, it depends on your mom, of course, and whether she's an experienced entrepreneur or not. But generally, people.
My mum would have definitely told me.
Yeah. So anyway, the idea is that you need to avoid wasting time, money, and energy, and we're going to give you the answer to that. We don't want you to build something that nobody wants, okay? We want you to build something that people want and will pay you money for. This is the number one purpose behind this video right now. Okay, so you may have heard people talk about a minimum viable product. Eric Ries talks about this in his book, The Lean Startup. Ash Maurya talks about it in his book, Running Lean. More and more people are talking about the minimum viable product. And this is the latest thinking that's coming out of Silicon Valley, that you need to build the smallest thing that you can to get learning, that you can actually learn from your customer. So it could be a lead page. I think that's, there is even a website called Quick MVP. There's all sorts of numerous things that people are doing out there to facilitate and help entrepreneurs build something very small, okay, the minimum viable product. Now, I did hear a story of a guy who ran a building company in Edinburgh. And so he was quite successful, used to build, and I knew lots of builders all seemed to be driving around in their Porsches and riding fancy motorbikes. So it is a very lucrative industry, but this guy thought that he would build an iPad app, some sort of magazine. And so he had this money, and he thought that he would get some software developers to build this for him. Now, if you talk to a software developer and you say, "Will you build me an app?" what are they going to say, do you think? What do you think they might say, Dan?
I think they'll be happy for the business.
Okay. And what would they say, do you think, if they're after the business?
Well, I think they'd be very happy for the business, so they'd definitely say yes, and they would tell you that they'd try and add as many features as possible, because that means more time and more development time, more billing hours, make them nice and rich.
Yeah. So they'll say pretty much, "What's your budget?" Yeah. And so this guy said 50 grand, and they said, "Great, okay, well, we'll build you an iPad app for 50 grand. Now, classic mistake. So he spent 50 grand building this iPad app that nobody used, and wasted a year of his life and all that money when he could have, got a nice car. Imagine. So instead, what we like to talk to you about is certainly, you need to build a minimum viable product. Like I said before, that could be a lead page, it could be quick MVP, it could be a mock-up, a balsamic mock-up of your website. It could be even a Facebook page. One of my friends was he wanted to open up a new sandwich shop because he works in some fast food Mexican restaurant in the West End of Edinburgh, and he wanted to do his own thing because he was fed up of being treated abysmally by the management. And I said to him, well, it's going to be quite difficult for you to get your restaurant up and running. You're going to have to sign leases, pay deposits, think about hiring staff. The capital outlay is going to be quite high. I said, what's the smallest thing you can do to test whether your restaurant could be a success? Now, he wasn't very experienced as an entrepreneur, so I kind of had to help him to understand this. And I said, well, one of the things you could do is you could just have a Facebook group that talks about your vision, that talks about your idea. That you want to provide food that is that doesn't have toxic oils in, that is organic, and all the other things that he was really interested in. And just see if you can get some followers on Facebook. There you have a minimal viable product. A Facebook page, something you believe in, and you can say, hey, are you interested in this? And people will say yes. Okay, but it's not the ultimate test. There is something better than a minimum viable product, and we call it the minimum revenue product. So this is the smallest thing that you can create that you can try and sell. Now, it's difficult to try and sell a Facebook page, so that analogy won't really work.
Because people will join a Facebook page or give you an email for nothing. There's no cost associated with it, so they're happy to agree with it, and it doesn't really show you whether they will buy it or not.
Yeah, that's right. So, and of course, they're more likely to click on it. And how much does it cost them to click a like button? Not much. And if you say, hey, do you think I should open my restaurant and I incur all this expense? They're not going to say no. They're going to perhaps be nice to that person and give them an answer that essentially could lead them down the wrong route. So conversely, if you have a minimum revenue product, it's a very small thing that you want to try and sell, people will look at you and they'll think, do I want to give this person my money for what it is that they're offering? And they will say either yes or no. They will be more honest with you. And that learning is incredibly valuable. If you can get people to pay you money, then that is a fantastic learning opportunity. Now, people are paying £10 to join our competition. So this is one of our minimum revenue products. It's online, it's virtual. We're not hiring, 2 floors in Codebase, or we're not hiring squads of staff. We're running a virtual accelerator using modern technology because we're able to see the opportunities to bring things together that other people haven't done. And we're using knowledge that other people aren't talking about. So we're different in that we're offering, you can win this competition without having to pitch, without having to write a business plan. So we are really different. So I guess I'm kind of bringing stuff from our previous conversation to make this point here. So
Relocate Guru Nicole, or I'll just call her Nicole, has asked, how do I get engagement and reliable feedback about my business idea while still protecting my IP? So she's kind of listening to what you've said, and she understands what you said about stealth mode. She wants to know how she can still protect IP, but yet get reliable feedback, not just Facebook likes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, that is a tough one. I know that people in the past have used minimum, if it's something that needs to be patented, and one of my friends, she went through this whole process of having to get her idea. She was producing a visor cleaning thing for a motorcycle, for the motorcycle industry, and she had to get this thing patented, and she had to get Strathclyde University to build mock-ups, and it was quite expensive. There's a great book called The Mom Test, So that's MOM. It's an American word for mother. So the mom test teaches you or reveals how you can actually have a conversation with someone without revealing what it is that you're offering. So you're essentially just really have a conversation with someone to try and find out what their problem is. It's almost like coming, hanging out with a friend and saying, how's it going? Tell me your problems. I'll be a shoulder for you to lean on. And so this is a customer discovery kind of approach where you don't actually mention the solution that you're offering. You just talk to them, use leading questions to discover, what the problem they have is. So that's perhaps another way to do this. If you can't really disclose your offering because of you have to protect your patents, then that is one way to address that. I don't. Let me know if Dan, if that's a good enough answer for Nicole. Please, Nicole, come back with another question if you require. If I was to try and advise my friend Jill about her motorcycle product without violating her patents in the past that she needed to protect, I guess I would probably. It's a tough one. I might. I might say, look, I've got an idea. It's going to solve this problem for you. Will you pay me some money? I'm not going to tell you what the idea is, but it's going to prevent you for your vision being obscured at night and for you to die on a motorcycle accident. I want to save your life. I want, it's not going to be very expensive. When it goes on the market, it might cost £30, but and so in some ways, I guess what you're doing is a very micro level crowdfunding campaign. You make a promise, say, hey, I know that you have this problem. I'm building something that can solve it for you. So pay me some money. And of course, as entrepreneurs, in the next session, we're going to talk about the lean business model canvas, where you look at the problem and the solution that you offer. And essentially, you are solving a solution. Now, it could be the promise of a solution. It could be the physical manufacturing of a solution. But you can actually just say, and this is the thing that entrepreneurs, in some ways, this is the number one thing an entrepreneur needs to learn, is how to sell, how to ask someone to give you money. Now, you need to do that face-to-face, so you can look them in the eyes and just really understand that thought process and see people having a reality check. You also need to do it online too. So you need to be able to monitor your metrics. You need to be able to watch the difference in your metrics as you try different strategies. And that's technological learning experience. But as an entrepreneur, you need to learn how to sell. And it's far easier to learn this with a minimum revenue product, something that costs £10 or something that costs £100 rather than thousands of pounds. Now, Nicole, I don't know how much your solution is going to cost or who your customer is, but if you're selling to a big corporate, if you're going through here, but it's easier to learn how to sell if it doesn't cost too much. It's not too much of a challenge. Any thoughts on that, Dan?
What about it being easier? Sorry, about it being easier to sell.
Yeah, minimum revenue products.
Well, yeah. I mean, the idea is that you're gonna iterate it to the full product. So when you want to make something which isn't going to cost them too much, but is still going to solve the issue that you both face. And the quicker that you can iterate through the ideas, the small cheap one that you offer to a few friends first, all the way, like your friend did, like you said your friend should, all the way up to the one that you're going to give, which you're going to open up to the mass market, then the harder it is for somebody to copy your idea. Because the idea is that the quicker you can execute, the better you'll be. And so patents are hard, but in general, if you're first to market and you're best in the market, then you should be fine.
Yeah. Personally. I guess the other thing to think about is that if you have something small that you're trying to sell, you, like Dan just said, you can iterate, you can pivot, you can change your strategy. If it's something that you have plowed, thousands of pounds into already, it's really difficult to change your thinking. So Dan, I think you have a story about this.
Yeah,
Someone
I'll also post the link in the chat. There's a great Dragon's Den pitch whereby a Bulgarian designer goes on to Dragon's Den and he's asking for £1 million because he's come up with a bath that you can run from your phone, and it's the cleverest bath in the world supposedly. You can monitor the temperature, you can monitor the volume, you can do all this stuff, and it tells you it exactly. You run it in your bedroom, and his idea was people turn coffee on from their phone. Why wouldn't they want to run a bath, especially rich people? So he goes on to the show, and all of them look around and go, well, we don't want to run a bath. And he goes, no, I mean rich people. And they're like, we're the dragons, we are rich people. We don't mind running a bath. It takes 5 minutes out of our day. None of us care. And he still persists that there are definitely people, that he's got contracts to build this and all sorts. Then Kelly Hoppin just jumps in and she says, well, you obviously don't, because I design rich people's houses and I put a few of these in early on. No one wanted them. No one uses them. I've stopped using them. And it turned out that all of his contracts were fake. He'd spent £1 million to try and come up with some idea that in the end no one was going to buy, because he hadn't started with something small and iterated to something big. He just poured £1 million into an interactive bathroom that works on your iPhone, and now no one wants one.
Yeah. So the smallest minimum revenue thing that he could have created is a Photoshop image online. He could have said, this is what I'm building, this is what I'm offering, or even sell the app rather than the bath. Try and sell, design an app, a very basic app, or that. I can imagine a bath that responds to an app is going to cost more.
So also, another possible thing was his minimum revenue product could have just been a video that he made, a bit like the guy from Dropbox, and then just upload it to Kickstarter. And then instead of spending his £1 million, if people enjoyed it, he would just create the bath with their money. And saved him money, and he would know whether there definitely is a market or if it's just not worth doing.
One of my friends, I remember he was selling sports nutritional bottles. Don't know if you've ever been to any Edge competitions, but he pitched at the Scottish Edge, and he had a mock-up of this sports bottle that had these compartments within the bottle. So he just had a video, and people paid money because they saw a video. And that was his minimum revenue product, and he got enough sales to actually commission a factory in China to produce them. I think he produced 40,000 units from his video. And so yeah, the only outlay, his minimal revenue product was this explainer video. So I do know some people who do explainer videos cheaply. If you're interested in that, please let me know. Okay, so we've talked about the, oh gosh, it's nearly 4 minutes to go before time's up. Dan, please have a look out for any last questions.
Will do.
So yes, it's far easier than you think to be successful as an entrepreneur if you find something very small that you can try and sell. So your minimum revenue product. So you don't want to spend 6 months writing a business plan. You don't want to spend thousands of pounds on patents if you can. You just need to say, hey, I've got the solution. Would you be interested? If you are, please give me 10 quid. Okay, so it's the minimum. It's far easier to learn how to sell as an entrepreneur when it's something small and affordable, and you get this learning, which is incredibly valuable. So it makes complete sense for you to try this instead of wasting time, money, and energy building something massive. That is a hard struggle, just really to get people to pay you thousands of pounds or hundreds of pounds for something that is taking you a long time to produce. So it's far easier to build a minimum revenue product. Okay, so there's some action that I'd ask you to take. If you've not paid your entry fee to join the competition, please do so. You cannot win unless you are in. And we are looking for you to, it's just, this is our minimum revenue product. It's 10 quid. I think that the value we'll offer you will be far more, worth far more than that. and you also have the opportunity to win, thousands of pounds prize money. Napier have given 500 for their students, and Edinburgh have given, Launchhead have given £500. But we will have thousands of pounds of prize money for you to win, and of course you're growing your company. So what's to lose? Okay, so between the break, I want you to think about what is the smallest thing. What is your minimum revenue product? What is the smallest thing that you can sell? So yeah, please click on the register to enter the start competition. Pay your £10. Have a look at the idea video. Use our tools, and there's a great book on the website. Is how you can find a great idea that will really drive you with passion and energy. Okay, so our next session is all about discovering how to get the edge over your competition. So we're going to be at the same page at 3:30, sorry. So please join us again for that, because there are hopefully the way that we look at things. You've been able to hearing us talking about the minimum revenue product. There are other ways, other innovative ways in which you can differentiate from your competition. So we're going to be talking about those. Now, of course, it's always good to have some competitors, because it proves there is a market for your idea, for your solution. If you don't have any competitors, it's perhaps there's not really a need, like the bath running app. If there are not people in there who are solving that problem already or making a profit, then it's perhaps something that you shouldn't really be wasting your time on and money on. So you do need to look for an idea that has competitors, but how do you stand out from them? How can you persuade people to give you money, lots of money, not just your minimum revenue product, but how can you get lots of people to give you lots of money rather than to your competitors? Okay, any last comments, Dan?
Not from what I can see. Give me 1 second to check the questions. No more questions and no more comments from me. Thank you, James, but good.
Okay, well, I thank you everybody for watching the second video. It's great validation of our idea. It's nice to have people who believe in us, and we're looking for some fantastic winners for the 2016 student startup race to help you to be successful, to make you famous in Scottish entrepreneurialism, if I can say the word properly. Thank you for coming, and I look forward to seeing you at our next session soon. Okay, cheers.